I thought she was gone forever. Until her name appeared in my inbox. 10 years after Sophie disappeared, I saw something that made my heart stop. I followed the signs and what I found was never meant for me. I haven't slept properly in weeks. There's something about silence after 2 a.m. that makes you believe your thoughts are louder than they really are. Sometimes I wonder if I'm still grieving or just stuck somewhere between memory and madness. People talk about closure like it's a switch. Like you wake up one day and decide the dead should stay dead. But what if they're not? I know how this sounds. And trust me, I know what denial looks like. I lived inside it for 10 years. But I also know what I saw. And her name was right there. Black and white. On my Uber receipt. Sophie Bennett. Let me back up. My name's Mara. I'm 33. I live in Milwaukee now, but I grew up in a tiny Minnesota town no one ever leaves on purpose, unless they're Sophie. Except she didn't leave. Not really. She vanished. 10 years ago this month, Sophie walked out of our parents' house after a fight and never came back. No texts. No note. No body. Just silence. I was 23. She was 19. The police assumed she ran away. She'd done it before, but never for more than a night. This time, her phone was left charging on her desk. Her wallet was on the dresser. She didn't take anything but a jacket. It was April. Still cold. The case went nowhere. Eventually, people stopped asking questions. Even Mom. Even me. We held a memorial service 2 years later. I gave the eulogy. Said all the right things about light and youth and mystery and letting go. I lied. I never let go. Fast forward to last Friday. It was raining. I was late for therapy. My car wouldn't start, so I ordered an Uber like I've done 100 times before. Standard trip. 12 minutes across town. Nothing special. I got out. Paid. Walked inside. Didn't check the receipt until later that night when I was clearing out my inbox. That's when I saw it. Driver, Jason. Route, West North Avenue to E. Knapp Street. Passenger name, Sophie Bennett. I stared at it so long my eyes burned. Not Mara. Not someone else. Sophie. My sister. Same spelling. Same last name. No middle initial. Just, there. My heart started pounding so fast I thought it would choke me. I clicked for more info. The Uber wasn't under my account. It had been added to my email by mistake somehow, an account mix-up. I've worked in tech support long enough to know weird glitches happen. But this wasn't a glitch. This was her name. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the click of the car door, the driver's eyes in the mirror, the smell of his air freshener. Was she in that car before me? Had I sat where she sat? Or worse, had I been in the same car with her? Was she still here? I barely made it through work the next day. My hands were shaking so badly I spilled coffee on a client's invoice. I kept checking my phone like something else would appear, another receipt, another mistake, another sign. Nothing did. Just that same name burned into my inbox like a wound that wouldn't close. Sophie Bennett. Not a common name. Not in Wisconsin. Not in this lifetime. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was someone else with the same name. Maybe I was spiraling. Maybe my brain was just looking for ghosts in static. But here's the thing. The email with the receipt wasn't just misdelivered. It had my name, my address, my payment details, everything. The only part that didn't match was the rider's name. I sent a support ticket to Uber. Got a bland auto-response. Thanks for your message. We are reviewing your account activity. No follow-up. I called the helpline. Waited on hold for 42 minutes. The rep told me it was probably a metadata error. Probably. But what's the probability that your dead sister's name shows up in your ride history by accident? I didn't believe in signs. Or fate. Or any of that cosmic crap. But I believed in Sophie. And I believed she never would have left me without a reason. That night, I sat on the floor of my closet and pulled out the old box I'd hidden since the memorial. The one with her letters. Her school ID. A burned CD she made me called Driving Nowhere. Inside was her last photo. It was taken 3 days before she vanished. She was on the back porch, barefoot, wearing that oversized yellow hoodie we used to fight over. Her hair was tied up messily. She was mid-laugh, head tilted back, eyes closed. Mom had taken it by accident while fumbling with her phone. We didn't know it'd be the last picture of her we ever had. Until now. I couldn't stop thinking about the car. So the next morning I ordered another Uber. Same address. Same time of day. I paid extra to request the same driver. Jason. He showed up in a silver Camry, same as before. I sat in the back, heart pounding. Hey, I said casually. You drove me a few days ago. Remember? He looked at me in the mirror. Sorry, I drive a lot of people. Sure. Do you remember anyone named Sophie Bennett? He blinked. Was she with you? No, I said slowly. She was before me. I think she had your last ride that day. He didn't answer right away. Then, I remember someone with that name. She was quiet. Wore sunglasses. Barely spoke. My throat went dry. Do you remember where you picked her up? He pulled out his phone, swiped through the trip log, then showed me. Pickup, Oakwood Heights. 11:47 a.m. My stomach flipped. That's where we used to live. The exact street. What did she look like? I whispered. He shrugged. Didn't really see her face. Hoodie head down. Maybe mid-20s? Dark hair. Pale. Pretty quiet. I didn't say anything the rest of the ride. Just stared out the window, heart thudding like a countdown. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, whispering her name into the dark like it might answer back. At 3:23 a.m. I got up. Went to the bathroom. Washed my face. Looked at myself in the mirror and froze. Not because I looked bad. Because I looked behind me. Just for a second I saw her. In the mirror. Behind my left shoulder. Not clearly. But enough. A flash of yellow. A blur of hair. Gone the moment I turned around. My stomach dropped. I searched the apartment. Nothing. But the bathroom light flickered when I came back in. And on the fogged-up glass of the mirror was one word. Don't. Just that. Like a breath. Like a warning. I wiped it away fast. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I was breaking. Or maybe Sophie didn't want to be found. I drove out there the next day. To Oakwood Heights. To our old street. To the place where Sophie disappeared 10 years ago like smoke through fingers no one knew were open. I hadn't been back since the funeral service. Our parents sold the house not long after, said it held too much air, whatever that meant. I knew they just couldn't take the silence anymore. Neither could I. But the street? The street hadn't changed. Same cracked sidewalks. Same maple trees leaning over driveways like they were tired. Same rust-colored mailbox at the end of what used to be our driveway. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Repainted. Cleaned up. But I still saw it the way it was. Chipped paint, one broken blind in the upstairs window, the ghost of a yellow porch swing that never stopped creaking even when the wind was still. I parked across the street. Left the engine running like I might need to escape. There's a weird thing that happens when you revisit the places that shaped your trauma. They shrink. They fade. But the feeling? The feeling gets louder. I sat there for 10 minutes, watching the house like it might breathe. Then something moved. Just a flicker in the window. Top floor. Left side. Sophie's room. My breath caught in my throat. I got out of the car before I could stop myself. Crossed the street. Walked up to the porch like I had a right to be there. Like I hadn't buried the girl who once painted that mailbox with stickers from cereal boxes. I rang the bell. Waited. No answer. I knocked. Still nothing. Then I heard it, barely audible, but there. A creak. From upstairs. My chest tightened. I knocked again, harder this time. Nothing. Then I heard the door lock click from the inside. But it didn't open. I stepped back. Looked up at Sophie's window. The curtain shifted. Just slightly. Enough for me to see fingers. Her fingers. Or someone's. Thin, pale. Curled around the edge of the fabric like they didn't want to be seen but didn't know how to stop themselves. I whispered her name out loud. Sophie. No answer. Just the curtain falling back into place. I didn't sleep that night. Again. My thoughts were buzzing so loud they felt like static in my veins. I kept replaying that flicker in the window. The receipt. The mirror. The foggy word. Don't. I tried to ignore it. Tried to rationalize everything. Coincidence. Trauma. PTSD. But then I remembered something. The night she disappeared, April 17th, she had texted me. I hadn't thought about it in years. It was the last message I ever got from her. It said, "If I go quiet, don't look for me." At the time, I thought she meant emotionally. Like she was withdrawing. Trying to isolate. I even told Mom and she brushed it off as teenage melodrama. But what if it wasn't? What if it was literal? What if Sophie hadn't vanished? What if she hid? I pulled up the Uber receipt again. The exact time. The route. The driver. Then I traced it backwards. The pickup pin was exactly 2 houses down from our old place. Not our house. A pale blue one with a broken fence and a yard full of weeds. I zoomed in. There was a figure on the porch. Blurred. Small. I couldn't tell who. But my stomach knew. The next morning I went back. Different car. Hoodie up. No makeup. I didn't want to be recognized by anyone, not even the ghosts. I parked at the end of the block and walked. And when I passed that pale blue house, I saw it. A yellow hoodie drying on a line in the backyard. Not mustard. Not gold. Sophie's yellow. The kind that only existed in her closet. The kind that had no reason to still exist. Unless she was here. Unless she never really left. I didn't go up to the house. Not that day. I couldn't. Something about the hoodie on the line made my knees lock. Like my body knew, I wasn't ready to learn whatever was waiting behind that door. So I kept walking. Like a coward. Like a sister who buried the truth once and might just do it again. That night I called Mom. I hadn't told her anything yet. Not the receipt, not the Uber, not the mirror, not the house. But I needed something. Some threat to pull. She answered on the second ring. Her voice a little hoarse from the late hour. Mara. Hey. Sorry it's late, I know. You okay? Yeah. Well, no. Can I ask you something? A pause. Of course. I hesitated. Do you remember what Sophie was wearing the day she left? Silence. Then. That yellow hoodie. The one with the frayed cuffs. You used to call it banana peel. I closed my eyes. You're sure? Why? I saw one today. Same shade. Same style. Another pause. You saw it where? Hanging outside a house. 2 doors down from ours. Long silence now. Waited. Then in a voice I'd never heard from my mother before. You didn't go in, did you? I felt my blood chill. No. Good. Why? She exhaled. A long shaky breath. Because someone lives there now. Someone who doesn't want to be found. My throat closed. What are you saying? I think you already know. Her voice wasn't scared. It was resigned. Like this wasn't new. Like she'd known something for years. I dropped the phone. Literally. It hit the floor with a dull thud and lay there buzzing in soft static. I didn't pick it up. I just sat on the edge of the bed breathing hard, pulse racing like I'd been chased. Someone who doesn't want to be found. At 3 a.m., I checked my old Gmail account. The one I hadn't used in years. Buried beneath spam and newsletters I never unsubscribed from was an unread email. Sent 10 years ago. Subject. Don't open unless it's been a while. From Sophie Bennett. I froze. My heart felt like it stopped completely before restarting in slow, painful beats. I clicked. The message was plain. No greeting. No sign-off. Just one line. If you're reading this, it means I couldn't stay gone forever. But don't come looking. Please. It's safer this way. That's all. No explanation. No location. No why. Just absence wrapped in apology. The next day, I sat at my kitchen table holding the letter like it might change in my hands. I reread it. Over and over. Hoping to find a clue I missed. Nothing. Just a digital ghost whispering stay away from the one person I'd spent a decade grieving. I did something I hadn't done in years. I printed a photo of Sophie. That same last photo. The one with her laughing in the yellow hoodie. I taped it to my bathroom mirror. I needed to see her face every day. I needed to remember who I was before the guilt became my only memory of her. Then that night I got another message. Not an email. Not a call. A letter. Slid under my front door. No name. No return address. Just a piece of paper. And on it, typed in bold black font. You're too close. Let it go. My blood turned to ice. I ran to the door, flung it open. No one in sight. Just the street. Still. Silent. I stood there barefoot, holding the note, heart pounding against my ribs like it wanted out. Then I saw it. Across the street. In the window of the dark house opposite mine. A flicker of movement. Someone pulling the curtain closed. Yellow fabric. The next morning I didn't brush my hair. I didn't eat. I didn't even put on socks. I just grabbed my coat and keys and drove. Back to Oakwood Heights. Back to the house with the pale blue paint and the yellow hoodie on the line. Back to the place that had been screaming don't at me through emails, mirrors, and mothers. I went anyway. There's a special kind of fear that comes after the warnings. Not the fear of what might happen. The fear that something already has and you were too late to stop it. I parked further down the block this time. Wore sunglasses even though it was overcast. My hands were trembling. The hoodie was gone from the line. I walked slowly like I was just out for a stroll. Like I wasn't breaking a 10-year promise by existing on this sidewalk. When I reached the front porch, I didn't knock. I walked around to the side gate, same rusted hinge from when we were kids. Still stuck. Still squealed. Still needed to be lifted slightly to open. I stepped into the backyard. No dog. No motion light. No sound. Just wind through brittle branches and that familiar ache in my spine. The sliding glass door was closed, but not locked. Inside it was quiet. Too quiet. Like the air didn't want to be disturbed. The furniture was minimal. A couch. A lamp. A kitchen table with one chair. It looked like a model home that someone tried to live in and gave up halfway. But the walls. The walls were lined with clippings. Photos. All of Sophie. Dozens. Some old. Some I'd never seen. One of her at a train station. One of her in what looked like a hotel mirror. One of her holding a newspaper from last year. Last year. My knees buckled and I gripped the back of the couch. This wasn't someone's shrine. This was surveillance. She'd been followed. Or watched. Or. Then I heard it. A floorboard. Upstairs. Soft. Deliberate. I froze. Waited. Another creak. Then silence. I should have left. God knows I should have turned around, walked out, driven away, burned the whole day into ash and gone back to pretending. But I couldn't. I moved toward the stairs. They groaned under my feet like they remembered me. Like they were warning her I was coming. The hallway was narrow. Third door on the left. Sophie's room. Still painted that soft sea glass green she begged Dad for in 8th grade. The door was closed. I reached for the handle. And it opened from the inside. There she was. Or someone who looked like her. Paler. Thinner. Hair darker, longer, tangled. Eyes wide. Terrified. But still her. My heart nearly stopped. Sophie. I whispered. She stepped back. Didn't speak. Just looked at me like I was a stranger breaking in. I took one step forward. She took one step back. It's me. It's Mara. I got your email. I saw the receipt. The note. Mom, she said. Her lip trembled. She whispered. You shouldn't be here. Why? Because they'll know. Who? She shook her head. Stepped to the side. Behind her on the desk was a journal. Open. Pages covered in writing. And drawings. Symbols. Faces. Places. Maps with pins. Some circled. Some scratched out. Some labeled with names including mine. Then something shifted in her. A flicker of pain behind her eyes. She grabbed the door. I'm sorry, Mara. Wait, please, just tell me. Don't look for me again. And she closed the door. But not with anger. With sorrow. Like it was the only way to protect me. I stood there for a long time. Long enough to feel the cold set into my skin. Long enough to hear her footsteps walking away. Long enough to realize that even if I stayed, she wouldn't come back. Not really. Not the way I remembered. I left the house without taking anything. Without saying goodbye. Without answers. That night, I got another letter under my door. Typed again. This one said, we warned you. Now you understand. I didn't tell Mom. Didn't tell anyone. I sat at the kitchen table for hours staring at the blank wall. I didn't cry. Not this time. Because this wasn't a loss. It was a choice. I didn't sleep. Again. But this time it wasn't fear. It was something worse. Knowing. Knowing she's alive. Knowing she looked me in the eye and still closed the door. Knowing I wasn't supposed to know. By morning I had a plan I didn't trust but couldn't stop. I went back to the house. Not to see her. I knew she wouldn't open the door again. But I had seen the journal. And if she wasn't going to talk to me, maybe her pages would. The house was empty. I could feel it before I stepped inside. No lights. No shadow in the window. No breath behind the walls. Gone. But the back door? Still unlocked. Like it had never mattered. I went straight upstairs. Straight to her room. The journal was gone. Of course. But the desk drawer was open and inside was a single torn page. One side was blank. The other held a drawing. It was a symbol, sharp, geometric, ink pressed so hard into the paper it had dinted through. Underneath it, in Sophie's handwriting, were 4 words. It doesn't watch me here. That's when the nausea hit. What doesn't watch her here? What watches her elsewhere? I took the paper and left. This time I locked the door behind me like it made a difference. Back home, I stared at the drawing for hours. I Googled symbols. Searched occult forums. Scanned pages of sigils and folklore and paranoia. Nothing matched. But around 1 a.m., I found a Reddit thread buried under layers of archived nonsense. r/the quiet list. A user had posted a photo of a wall deep in an abandoned hospital somewhere in Oregon. The same symbol was spray painted there. Same shape. Same angles. Same message underneath. It doesn't watch me here. And the post? It was submitted by a deleted account. But the username before deletion? At s.bennett47. I stared at it for so long my screen went dark. There was a comment on the post. Just one. From someone named th1rdislet. These people think they're off-grid. They're not. Just off-script. Off-script. Like someone was writing this. Like we were characters trying to improvise inside someone else's narrative. It felt like static in my teeth. I shut the laptop. Tried to breathe. The next day, I went to see Mom. She made tea like nothing was strange. Asked if work was stressful. Said I looked pale. I watched her closely. Every movement. Every blink. Finally, I said, I saw her. She didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. I know, she said. I leaned forward. You knew she was alive? She nodded. Since the beginning? No. Not then. But she contacted me a few years ago. My throat dried instantly. And you didn't tell me? She begged me not to. Said it was dangerous. Said she wasn't the same. Dangerous how? She looked down at her mug. Fingers trembling around the porcelain. She said they follow attention. That if too many people know, they notice. Who? Mom shook her head. I don't know. She wouldn't say. Just called them the ones who rewrite. Said if I ever tried to find her, they'd pull me out of sequence. I felt like I was falling into a dream someone else was dreaming. So you just let her disappear? She wasn't mine to keep, Mara. Not anymore. That night I drove around the city aimlessly, windows down. Air thick with the hum of things I couldn't name. I kept thinking of that note. Now you understand. But I didn't. Not really. All I understood was this. Someone or something had let me get close. Too close. And now the door was closing again. At 2:11 a.m. I got a text. No contact. No thread. Just a blank number. One photo. Of me. Standing in the backyard of the house on Oakwood Heights. Taken from the upstairs window. Taken from her room. Below it a message. This is your last visit. I didn't respond to the message. Not out of fear. But because some part of me, the part that still remembered Sophie reading poetry out loud in the dark, laughing with juice on her chin, braiding my hair too tight, already knew the answer. She wasn't asking for permission. She was saying goodbye. Again. Only this time, she meant it. I didn't go back to Oakwood Heights. I didn't call Mom. I didn't open the Reddit thread again, or chase down the symbols, or keep looking behind me in mirrors. I stopped asking, because I finally understood. This wasn't my mystery to solve. It never had been. But I still dream. And in my dreams, Sophie is always wearing that hoodie, the yellow one with the frayed cuffs, and standing on the edge of a quiet lake, water still as glass. She turns to me and says, I didn't disappear. I just stepped out of the story. And then I wake up. Heart pounding. Hands clenched. But calm. Like maybe, just maybe, she's still watching. From somewhere else. I boxed up the photo I taped to the mirror. Not to forget her, but to finally hold her in peace. I put it in a drawer beside the page with the symbol, the printed email, the old CD from high school. The pieces of a puzzle that no longer needed solving. They just needed letting go. Last week, I sat with Mom on her porch while the sky turned that soft orange-gray that always makes you feel like you're standing inside a memory. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. But for the first time in years, the silence wasn't hollow. It was full of something else. Something sacred. Something we didn't have to name. This morning I opened my inbox and saw another Uber receipt. My chest tightened, that old instinct kicking in. But this time the name said Mara Bennett. Just me. No tricks. No ghosts. Just the world moving forward. And me letting it. If you ask me what really happened to Sophie, I'd say this. She escaped. From what? I'll never fully know. But some people don't vanish because they're lost. They vanish because they were found by something we can't understand. And if they're lucky, they get to choose never to be written back in. So this is the end of my part in her story. No answers. No dramatic twist. Just a quiet sister finally closing the door. And knowing finally that it's okay to walk away.